Hello and welcome to another video in my series of videos where I try to beat Pokemon games with just a Weedle called Bongzilla. And today he will be taking on the 4th generation of Pokemon. And this is quite exciting for me because I basically have no experience with this gen, so it's all new to me. And there isn't really that many changes in this gen, they've pretty much kept everything the same as they were in the 3rd generation of Pokemon. But they have added back in the day and night cycle from Gen 2, which is an awesome feature that I'm glad they brought back. And of course this game is on the DS, so there's little bits of touchscreen nonsense thrown in because this is Nintendo. They love their bloody gimmicks. But thankfully, it isn't that intrusive in this game. But one slight change in particular really buggered up this run early on for me. And this slight change is what they've done to Struggle. In the 3rd gen of Pokemon, Struggle inflicted a quarter of the damage inflicted upon your opponent onto you. But in Gen 4, no matter how much damage you inflict on the enemy, a quarter of your health will be taken. Which kind of renders this move useless early on in the game, because this quarter and a hit from the enemy will likely bugger your health. But they have added in X special defense items, which is very helpful. And as you might expect, not much has changed for Weedle, his stats are still among the worst in the game. But if you're playing Pokemon Platinum, this gen's extra game with slight added upgrades, Weedle has access to a 3rd move, Bug Bite, which is surprisingly a pretty damn good move. I'm so proud of you, Weedle, well done! And this is why I'm doing 2 runs for this video, one in Pokemon Pearl and one in Pokemon Platinum. I guess mainly to show how much of a difference Bug Bite makes. And this time around I took some advice from the comments and I made sure I got a decent nature for my Weedle. Nature determines which one skill will get a nice boost and which one skill will get barely raised. And I of course want to get a nature that favours attack and negatively affects special attack, which I don't need because Weedle's attacks are all physical. So I tried to make sure Weedle had the nature Adamant, which does just that. And it took me 4 hours of resetting the game, which was hell. So,
what are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules?
I will be using Weedle and Weedle alone in combat, so no switching to get rid of status effects and all that jazz. And in the case of double battles, I will just try my best to avoid them because luckily this gen doesn't have a gym leader double battle like the last gen did, which is nice. I will of course have to use some HM slaves to get through the game, but as always they will not be used for anything but HMs. And as always I am using the Pokemon randomizer to make Weedle a starter. So without further ado, let's beat Gen 4 with just a Weedle. Upon starting my Gen 4 run I am greeted by Professor Rowan, this game's Professor Oak. Wait a second, Professor Rowan? That's not a tree, is it? Let's see here, well, I'm stupid, it is a type of tree. Thank God, I thought we were dealing with some sort of fake Pokemon professor for a second there. Because as we all know, you can't be a Pokemon professor unless you have a tree for your second name. Anyway, we get to name ourselves, and unlike in Gen 3, you can now again name your rival. And you already know what I'm going to call him. Yep, a cunt is back, baby. And like most Pokemon games, I awaken in my room, I head downstairs, and then my mum informs me that a cunt came knocking for me. I'll never get sick of that name. But apparently, it was an emergency. So we go find the sprightly lad and our first interaction with him is him fudding into us, which will become a theme throughout this game. I personally think that a cunt has some sort of undiagnosed ADHD or something. It would certainly explain a few things. Fudding bastard. A cunt wants us to go to the lake with him because he saw a report on a red Gyarados at a lake, so he thought we should investigate the lake near us. And I love that callback to Gen 2 by the way. And the lads see Professor Rowan and his assistant Dawn at the lake. And the pair of silly sausages leave the lake without their suitcase full of rare Pokemon. What a coincidence. And the boys go to retrieve the suitcase and they're of course attacked by Pokemon in the process and they resort to using the Pokemon in the suitcase. Cause
Of course!
they do. And this is where we get the Bug King Bongzilla. But sadly we can't name this beautiful boy yet. After our first battle with a wild Pokemon, Dawn shows up to take the briefcase and she scolds us for using the Pokemon. We were being beset by tiny birds that we could easily crush with our hands, Dawn. What else were we supposed to do? The boys talk to the professor and he just looks at the Pokemon then leaves them with us. And Dawn suggests we go visit them at their lab. After returning home and getting the running shoes, we head to Rowan's lab and as you might expect he lets us keep our Lord and Saviour Bongzilla. And we can finally name this boy. All hail the Great One. Let's fuck this gen up, brother. After heading to Jubilife City and answering questions from clowns. Yep, clowns. That's the first thing you think of when you hear a promotional event for a watch. Because everyone loves clowns. Anyway, we do this so we can get a Pokemon watch or a Why is that so hard to say? It sounds like I'm having a stroke. This thing just does useless shit on the second screen. Because, you know, the DS is fancy and shit.
Ooh, look at my 2 screens.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow!
But after this crap, we get our first rival fight with a cunt. And here's his squad. Yeah, I made it so he had a fire starter again. Because I'm incredibly big brain. And this battle was easy as shit. I beat his party on my first attempt. I just want to say that I actually really like this rival. He's the perfect balance between dickhead and Jesus. The kid's full of bants and I feel like he actually grows throughout the course of the game. Well done Barry, you're actually likeable. And we're next in Orberg City, home of the first gym leader, Roark. I bet you can guess what type of Pokemon he uses. It's like they didn't even try. Were they really out of rock puns?
What do you wanna do with your life? I wanna rock!
I give this punny name a Dragon Ball Z evolution out of 10. You can do better than this, Game Freak, with your logo that looks suspiciously like a floppy dongle. But shit name aside, Roark is no joke and he takes the title as the hardest first gym I've ever come across in any of my Weedle runs. And here's his squad. Yep, it's just Brock's squad with a Craniados added. Pretty lazy really. I went in for my first set of attempts at level 21 and this was nowhere near the right level for this fight. I went in packing Struggle, which wasn't working because after taking the recoil from Struggle and a rock throw from Geodude, I was usually pretty fucked and I only have access to normal potions at this point in the game, which are useless. So I thought I would try a few attempts at level 22 with Poison Sting instead, which was just as terrible. My main idea was to get off a poison and then wait him out with potions, but I don't really have enough potions to do that, so time for some brutal level grinding. Yay! So yeah, after 12 hours of level grinding, Weedle is at level 32, but is it enough to take down Roark? Well, no. I first went in with Poison Sting and I can now get past the Geodude, but by the time I get to Onix, it's game over. Because I've usually run out of potions at that point, and Roark using his own potions definitely doesn't help matters. So I then tried again with Struggle, which went a lot better because I was dealing out a lot more damage. The Geodude went down in 2 hits, but the Onix was still a bit of a problem because it could take a couple more hits. And it kept using Screech on me, which was very annoying. I did manage to kill it one time when I was out of potions, but the recoil from Struggle killed me as I killed the Onix. So it's back to the grind.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
I didn't make a motherfucking typo. I spent 15 hours getting my Weedle up to level 40 for the first fucking gym. I've done over 30 hours of gameplay on this run already, and I'm still on the first gym. Roark, your name might suck, but you've earned the title of tough cunt in my books. Well, at level 40 I had a much better time. I went in packing Poison Sting to do the poison and wait them out strategy, because at this point Weedle was barely taking any damage from their rock throws, and after patiently killing both the Geodude and the Onix, all that was left was Roark's Craniados. And luckily for us, Craniados went down a lot easier than Geodude and Onix, because Geodude and Onix are part ground, which gave them some extra defense against Bongzilla's Poison Sting. And after 4 hits the Craniados was down, and after 30 hours we finally have the first fucking badge. Trust me, it speeds up a bit after this gym, thankfully. Next we're heading to Eterna City, but on the way there we get our first encounter with this game's crime syndicate, Team Galactic. I mean, I know Team Rocket, but I can get behind the sci-fi-ness and the bowl cuts. Mwah, blue bowl cuts. The future! And these 2 rapscallions are threatening to brutally assault Dawn if Professor Rowan doesn't help them. What nice lads. After kicking their asses with Dawn, her and the Professor fuck off. How riveting. But before we can get to Eterna City, Team Galactic are causing trouble at the Valley Windworks. And after we deal with that, we head through the Eterna Forest with a trainer called Cheryl for whatever reason. And then here we are at Eterna City, home of Gardenia. Get it? She's a grass gym leader with garden in her name. Well, at least it feels like they tried with this one. I give this punny gym leader name a Mortal Kombat movie out of 10. It's silly, but their hearts are in the right place. But anyway, let's take on Gardenia. Here's her squad. Yeah, there's nothing in there that's going to scare our buggy boy. And as you have probably guessed, Bongzilla went in and it was Poison Sting, dead. Poison Sting, dead. Slight resistance, Poison Sting, dead. God, that was a lot nicer than the first fucking gym. And we bump into Cynthia for the first time, who's the league champion that will give us trouble later on. And she just so happens to give us Cut for no reason, and as it turns out we need Cut to save a bike shop owner from Team Galactic. Convenient, that? And after we bust in the Team Galactic building and save the bike shop owner, what do you know? He gives us a bike. The very bike we need to leave this town. These conveniences are just crazy. Good job, Jesus. Once we've gone through the cycling road, we come across Dawn, who gives us the Versus Seeker, which will be very handy later when I need some quick levels and cash. But while we're on this route, there's an item I want to pick up here for Bongzilla, and that item is the Poison Barb, which is a held item that gives a 20% boost to poison moves, which will be really handy to have. After a quick layover in Hearthome City, we're heading to Veilstone City, where the 3rd gym leader Maylene resides, and she has fighting Pokemon, so you know this is going to be a cakewalk. Especially when you consider that I now have access to Hyper Potions and X items, but to be honest with you, I probably won't need lead them for this fight. And can I just say that I hate the puzzle wall things in this gym, but I do appreciate the fact that they look like giant pints of beer, so that's a bonus. Anyway, let's fight Maylene. Here's her squad. It isn't that much, but Lucario is a bit annoying, because I'll have to use Struggle to beat her because Poison can't hit Steel. But after I've got Struggle for this fight, it's easy as shit. I take down all her Pokemon with ease, and I even one-shotted the Lucario. And there we go, we now have 3 badges. This is starting to go a bit smoother now. We're next heading to Pastoria City, and this is where we find Crasher Wake. Now that's what I call a punny gym leader name. A wake is a trail something moving in water leaves behind it, which is a deep cut of water stuff, and then Crasher implies he has a mad lad wake. But wait, there's more. He's also a wrestler, which just brings this whole gym leader name up a bit, because it's a good water pun and it's also a good wrestler name, which is why I give this punny gym leader name a the room out of 10. You know, because it's perfect.
Hi doggy, how is your sex life?
Bruh.
Great, this gym has annoying puzzles in it as well. I hate puzzles. Stop with that shit. Anyway, let's take on Crasher Wake. Here's his squad. And there's nothing too challenging here, but his Gyarados was a bit of a git. But the rest were pushovers. And he opens up with that very Gyarados. And he was annoying because he kept using Swagger on Weedle, a move that raises your attack but leaves you confused. But Bongzilla managed to kill the Gyarados for all the Swaggers, and this left him with a boosted attack for the rest of his squad. And Bongzilla murdered the shit out of them and badge for his arse, baby. But before we can leave Pastoria City, we come across a suspicious Team Galactic member, and before we can chase him, a cunt shows up and wants to battle. Now's really not the time, you lovable idiot. And I beat him pretty easy. This battle isn't really worth going over. So with a cunt defeated, we give chase to the Team Galactic grunt. After we kick his ass, he mutters about something he has to give to his commander, and then we see Cynthia again, who's conveniently here to give us a thing we need. She gives us a secret potion that will help us move some Psyducks that are blocking a path on Route 210, and once we give the potion to the Psyducks, Cynthia again shows up. Is she stalking us?
Alright, son, I'm gonna need those 2 hams back.
I don't have any hams.
Lift up your shirt, son.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
And she now asks us to take an old charm to her granny. Why don't you fucking do it, you lazy bitch? You've obviously got plenty of time on your hands because you seemingly have the time to stalk a child. Plus your nan probably wants to see you. Treat your grandparents well, kids. That's a bit of advice from me. And in Celestic Town we meet her grandma, and she wants us to kick a Team Galactic thug's ass for her. I like this granny style, she's feisty. She implores us to look at the ruins, and then she gives us Surf. This is officially the best granny ever, you're just precious. Mwah. But anyway, we can now take on the 5th gym leader, Fantina. She specialises in ghost Pokemon. And you know what? Her gym had a lot of math questions in it, which is of course no problem for Dr. Makulashima, the #1 brain boy. With that out of the way, here's her squad. Nothing here is really going to give us too much trouble, but she does have Drifblim, which is one of my favourite Gen 4 Pokemon. And Drifblim is her first Pokemon, and thankfully it doesn't really pose much of a threat offensively, so I poison it and start getting my steroids set up. Her second Pokemon, Miss Magius, does cause more trouble than Drifblim with its powerful Psybeam that got me a few times, and the ever annoying move Confuse Ray, but it's nothing Weedle can't handle with a bit of luck on our side. And her last Pokemon is Gengar, who surprisingly wasn't all that challenging because it didn't really have any moves that were damaging Bongzilla that much. So after a few poison stings, Gengar went down. And there we go, 5 gyms down. I'm actually a little bit worried for the next fight with Rock's dad, the Steel-type gym leader Byron. When we arrive in Canalave City, there's another battle with a cunt, and Bongzilla just annihilates his squad. I would usually be mean to a shit rival, but Barry's such a good boy, I just can't be mean to him. He's just got that Labrador look about him, and I had a feeling the Steel Gym was going to be a pain in the arse, so I thought I would do a bit of level grinding first.
This is what I do, I sit on you, sit on you, sit on you. This is what I do, I sit on you.
With that out of the way, let's take on Byron. Here's his squad, and yes, as you would expect, his squad is full of beefy steel types. The first Pokemon he sent out was Bronzor, which is pretty handy because it doesn't really pack that much of a punch even when it's using strong moves like Extra Sensory, which gives me all the time in the world to set up my performance enhancing drugs. And with everything set up, it's... Okay, I was not expecting that to be so easy, but it was. Once we leave the gym, Barry tells us that Professor Rowan wants to meet us in the library. Sounds like a game of Cluedo to me, but okay, Rowan better not kill me with a candlestick. Rowan tells us that he wants Barry, Dawn and myself to go investigate some lakes, and we end up helping at all the lakes anyway because everyone's fucking useless. Well anyway, we're now in Snowpoint City, home of the Ice Gym leader Candice. Ah, see what you did there, that's actually clever. They found a name that has the type she uses in it. And for that, I give this punny gym leader name a cool as ice out of 10.
Oh yeah, cat. Words of wisdom. Drop that 0 and get with the hero.
This gym has an ice floor puzzle. This is the worst. God damn it, Game Freak, stop with the puzzles. that are intended for children that I have trouble with for some reason. God, I'm dumb. After navigating the ice path, we can take this bitch on, and here's her squad. Pretty standard. I do love the Obama Snow, mainly because it has weird boob moustaches that are like stripper tassels or something. Plus, Obama Snow. Yeah, I was saying it like that on purpose. The first Pokemon she sends out is Snova, which like most of the other gym leaders' first Pokemon is so weak we can easily get our steroids set up. Her second Pokemon, Medicham, was a bit of a curveball, but Bongzilla manages to kill it before it can use any of its psychic shenanigans. The Sneasel goes down in one shot, and her last Pokemon, Obama Snow, doesn't fare much better, because it's weak to Poison Sting. It did keep putting me to sleep and confusing me with Swagger, but this didn't stop the Weedle from murdering it with his mighty Poison Sting. And there we go, 7 gyms down, 1 to go. But before we can take on Volkner in Sunyshore City, we have to do some Team Galactic crap in Veilstone City. Basically, we storm their base, release these 3 dudes, and then we have our final confrontation with the Team Galactic leaders on the top of Mount Cornet. And before this, I thought it was finally time to max out Bongzilla's level. Team Galactic summon Palkia, and before we can take on Cyrus, a cunt shows up to help us in a double battle with Commander Mars and Jupiter. And after that, we get to take on Cyrus himself. And this battle is not a walk in the park. And here's his squad. Nothing too crazy, but that Honchkrow is a goddamn son of a bitch. And Honchkrow is up first. And the thing that makes him so annoying is this move called Embargo, which stops us using items for 5 turns. And as you know, items are crucial in this run. So if he gets Embargo off early, we're pretty much fucked, and we have to pray we can survive long enough to heal back up. And Honchkrow has some pretty damaging moves like Drill Peck, so we have to hope they don't spam that. With a bit of luck I can get past Honchkrow, but the next big problem is Crobat, who has Air Slash that does a fuck ton of damage, especially when I've barely set up any X items because of Honchkrow's Embargo. I was getting killed by lucky crits a lot, but after a couple of attempts I get lucky and I don't get critted by an Air Slash, and Crobat goes down. Next is his Gyarados, which was a walk in the park compared to the last 2 Pokemon, and he goes down in a couple of hits. And the last Pokemon he has is Weavile, which again barely has any lethal moves, and it goes down after a couple of Poison Stings. Then the Professor and Dawn show up to see us try to catch God or whatever, and I just kill that punk ass bitch. You're a false god. Bongzilla is the only true poker god. All bow down before Bongzilla. With that absolute bollocks out of the way, we can finally go to Sunyshore City to take on the last gym leader, Volkner. But before we can enter the city, we're approached by Ronald McDonald, who just happens to be an Elite 4 member. And he basically wants us to give Volkner a good old-fashioned beating, because Volkner is bored of people not providing him a challenge. Bongzilla knows that feeling all too well. He's basically the one-punch man of Pokemon. After grabbing this bitter old git from the lighthouse, it's time to get Bongzilla the last badge he needs to take on the Elite 4. And here's his squad. Gotta love the Raichu being in there. I love Raichu. And his somehow happy yet angry face. But also, why does he have an Octillery? That's a water Pokemon. Very strange for an electric gym leader. And this thick boy Raichu is up first, and like pretty much every gym leader up to this point, the first Pokemon is very easy to set up on. Mainly because it keeps using Brick Break, of all things, which barely damages our buggy hero. And once my X items are set up, Bongzilla wrecks through his whole squad. And now we have all of the badges, and it's time to take on the Elite 4. And trust me, they gave me more trouble than these feeble gym leaders. And as we're about to leave for the Pokemon League, we just randomly find Jasmine hanging out on this beach. And she gives us Waterfall, the HM we need to get to the Pokemon League, which is, a bit out of left field, but whatever I guess. That bitch just really likes towns with lighthouses, doesn't she? And before I go to the Victory Road, I thought it would be a good time to go grind up some cash. So I went and got an amulet coin from Amity Square, which doubles the amount of money you earn from trainer battles. And I used the Versus Seeker to beat these 2 rich old people who give you a decent amount of money every time you beat them. After a couple of battles I had the money I needed to get all the items for my Elite 4 run. This gen's Victory Road isn't too bad, given that this gen is full of annoying puzzles. This room did stump me for a bit, but at least it wasn't as annoying as the rock moving puzzles from Gen 1. And here we are, finally at the Pokemon League. It's finally time to get Bongzilla his 4th World Championship belt. Well, let's fucking do this. Oh wait, Barry wants the battle first. Again, this fight is so easy it's not worth mentioning. You tried a cunt. You get to be the last battle of this run later, so there's that I guess. The first Elite 4 member is Aaron, the bug trainer, and here's his squad. I like your style, Aaron, but you're missing the best bug Pokemon of all, you goddamn idiot!
Jesus Christ, damn, man. Down.
The first Pokemon he sends out is Dustox, and I was quite surprised that this Pokemon was actually a pain in the ass. It kept using bloody Double Team, which made it hard as shit to hit, but after a couple of hits that were very hard to land, he goes down. And after this, nothing really puts up much of a fight. But I do already run out of Poison Stings, and I'm left with Struggle. But I actually need it for a few Pokemon in the Elite Four anyway, so it's fine. and I barely have any ethers anyway. Bongzilla quickly tears through the rest of his squad with struggle. That's what you get for using inferior bug Pokemon. And the next Elite Four member is Bertha. Great granny name, by the way. She uses ground Pokemon, and here's her squad. There's definitely a few annoying Pokemon in there, but nothing Bongzilla can't murder. Her first Pokemon is Quagsire, which is another Pokemon that's pretty easy to set up on because it doesn't really have that many damaging moves. It does pull that double team shit like Dustox did, but it doesn't save it from the crushing power of a fully roided up Bongzilla. And most of her squad falls without much resistance. The only Pokemon to put up a fight was her last Pokemon here, Powdon. And this was mainly because it's bulky and it used Curse a few times, which made it harder to take down. But like the rest of her squad, it was lacking in the offense needed to kill the one and only Weedle. And after a whole lot of struggling, the Hippowdon went down and we only have 3 more trainers to beat. Wellity, if it isn't Ronald McDonald, the fire Pokemon trainer. And here's his squad. Yeah, it's a bit weird that he has 3 non-fire Pokemon and 2 fire Pokemon. What's with that? Oh well, guess I should be thankful. Makes things easier for me, I guess. The first Pokemon Ronald sent out was Rapidash, which was a cunt because of its move Flare Blitz that kept killing me on critical hits. And it also had Bounce that was killing me on critical hits, and it also had Sunny Day which was powering up the Flare Blitz. So basically, this is not a very good Pokemon to set up on, but after a bunch of attempts I managed to get all set up, which made it very easy to sweep the rest of his squad. 2 more to go, baby. And the next Elite Four member is the Psychic Trainer Lucian, and here's his squad. Oh, for God's sake, why does he have a Mr. Mime? I hate that creepy fucker. Ugh. Oh great, his first Pokemon is Mr. Mime. Grand. And as you might expect, this fucker packs quite a punch with his Psychics, which means I'm going to have to X Special Defense up bloody quickly. But once my X items are set up, Mr. Mime is easy enough to take down, and much like the last few Elite Four members, once I'm past the first Pokemon, I smack everyone down with ease. It's now time for the last battle of this Elite Four run, with our stalker, Cynthia. And she was very annoying, but it's good that the last battle is actually difficult. And here's her squad. Let me just tell you this now, Spiritomb is a fucking dick. And no sir, I don't like her. And the reason this Spiritomb is a git is because it has Embargo like Cyrus's Honchkrow from earlier. Embargo makes it incredibly annoying for me to set up and to even survive. You have to get really lucky with it. Spiritomb's attacks were no joke either, and I found myself dying to crits fairly often. And a lot of the time it would just kill me in the 5 turns of the Embargo. And because my only attacking move was Struggle, once she uses Embargo I have to attack, which cuts my own health down by a quarter, which isn't helping matters. I started throwing Pokeballs at the enemy to waste a turn without having to use Struggle. So after a lot of attempts with Struggle, I thought it might be worth using my only 2 ethers on Poison Sting. So I have an attacking move that doesn't damage me while I'm embargoed. And you never know, I might poison the git. And having Poison Sting did really make a difference when I was under the embargo. And the damage from Spiritomb being poisoned was a game changer that actually killed the Spiritomb for me. Thanks, Poison! Her next Pokemon was Gastrodon, which was quite bulky, but it was nothing Poison couldn't take care of. And the same went for her next Pokemon, Milotic, but Lucario was a different story because it's part Steel. So I had to make sure I was basically all out of Poison Stings by the time I got to him so I can actually hit him. But once the Poison Stings are depleted, Lucario is easy enough to take down. She then sent out Roserade, which is an easy one-hit KO for the best bug boy in town, and we now come up against her last Pokemon, the mighty Garchomp. And Garchomp is no match for the Weedle, and she goes down after 3 struggles. And now, can I get a hell yeah for the 4-time champion of the world, Bongzilla! Well, that's the main game of Gen 4 done, and somehow this managed to take me longer than the Gen 3 run. I can't believe this took 87 hours. But it's not over yet because we still have 2 final battles of a cunt, which basically act as the red fight for this game. But before you can access this final battle, you have to have seen every Pokemon in the game, which is kind of annoying. But after doing that, we get the National Dex, and after some post-game shenanigans, we can take on a cunt again. And I'm not going to go over this first rematch because it's really easy, but I will go over the second rematch. You unlock this second rematch by beating the Elite Four 20 times, which is very, very annoying, but I did it anyway. Because I hate myself and I love you guys. So let's do the supposedly hardest fight in the game. And here's his squad. Not gonna lie, this looks pretty nasty to be honest with you. And that Staraptor is an annoying bastard. And he opens up with that very annoying bastard. And the reason Staraptor is so annoying is because of 2 things. 1, he has Intimidate, and 2, he has U-Turn, and these two things combine to cause maximum jammy gitness, because he'll keep lowering my attack and switching himself out, which makes knocking out his Pokemon all the harder, and I should probably give up on the idea of getting my X attacks fully set up. So after Staraptor uses a U-Turn, Akant will usually send out Infernape next, who has a pretty scary Flare Blitz that did kill me a few times. But after a whole lot of attempts, I managed to get lucky enough to get past the Infernape, and Akant of course sends out Staraptor again to lower my attack, and it instantly U-turns out of there. And we're actually up against Heracross, who didn't have any moves as damaging as Infernape's Flare Blitz, so it went down after a couple of hits. Then Staraptor is again sent out to hit and run, and then my real opponent Roserade is sent out, who doesn't stand much of a chance against Bongzilla's super effective Poison Sting. And yeah, Simpsons hit and run. Then Akant sends out the bulky bastard Snorlax, which will be hard with my severely lowered attack. But luckily this Snorlax doesn't have any attacks that are too damaging to Weedle, and after a bunch of Poison Stings he goes down. Akant again sends out Staraptor, but this time I managed to kill the bugger before he can cut and run. And then the last Pokemon between me and ultimate victory is Floatzel. Really, anything would have been more epic than a Floatzel, for God's sake. And this final Pokemon goes down with a couple of Poison Stings, which is pretty anticlimactic, but there you go. I've beat everything there is to beat in this game with Bongzilla. He really made this game his bitch. But oh no, it ain't over yet. Let's see if Bongzilla can conquer Sinnoh in Platinum with his Bug Bite. Cue the music. Let me tell you about a Weedle called Bongzilla. Down in the land of Sinnoh.
Deep down in Auburn, Rock was the first one to die. He used Weedle on Gardenia. Ventina disappeared like a ghost Pokemon. Maylene was taken down with a knockout punch. Can't kill the Weedle, he will live on. And he will take you down with his bug bite. Crash awake, got a choke slam to the water below. The steel of iron was crushed right before his eyes. Candice got melted down to a puddle of slush. Faulkner has been thunderstruck.
Weedle easily took down the Elite Four, and he had to fight them again, but this time they were stronger. To battle! To the final battle with Cynthia. Attack!
What?